We finally got sound. I'll make sure to edit out the first 45 seconds there. How are you all today? Hope you're having a beautiful day today. The sun's coming out here in southern Colorado, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We've got a plasma physicist that has made claims 3i Atlas is interstellar technology. Yeah, like a spacecraft. And we've also got another paper we're going to look at that is detailing how 3i Atlas could potentially be some type of plasma life form. So I thought I heard it all, but there actually is some very compelling evidence that certain plasma is alive. Number 5 is alive. Oh, yeah. Hurricane Melissa is pissed. Talk about a Category 5 hurricane right now that is just hours away from smashing into the coast of Jamaica. The most intense hurricane ever to hit land in Jamaica. And we've got records that go back all the way to the mid-1800s. So very, very interesting. And somebody just brought up a point, plasma, blood. Oh, yeah, interesting, right? How our blood is referred to as plasma. So we have a lot of news to look at today. We're going to get into Hurricane Melissa, 3i Atlas, the International Asteroid Warning Network launching a global tracking program. A green fireball explodes over Moscow. We're going to look at that footage. Also, 2 U.S. Navy aircraft go down in the South China Sea. Northrop Grumman's Project Lotus, which is an autonomous aircraft. We're going to look at that. And did you know that the Mayans could predict eclipses hundreds of years in advance? And they were right. How did they do that? We're going to talk about that. It puts things into perspective when you look at Revelation and you read some of these scriptures that detail astrological events that take place hundreds of years later. Makes it a little bit more understandable. Also, we're going to look at these nano-nuclear technologies, compact reactors, about the size of a suitcase, nuclear reactors, one hell of a way to boil water. And did you know that the Earth is splitting open beneath the Pacific Northwest? Oh, yeah, that's going to be exciting. And experts are now saying that the artificial intelligence singularity could happen in the next 3 months. Well, that's a pretty big jump from 2030. Astronomers have discovered interstellar tunnels linking us to other stars. We're going to look at that. And scientists and astronomers are preparing for another Carrington event, a new Carrington event, they call it. Military forces are building up near Venezuela. Is conflict coming? These are the signs in today's podcast. So thank you very much for being here with me. And also check us out over on Patreon for exclusive content, unedited, unfiltered. We've got long format interviews that go back almost 10 years with amazing guests you're only going to find on our Patreon page, as well as leakproject.com. Subscribe to us on Rumble. It'll take you 90 seconds. It's totally free. That helps us grow. And also make sure that your bell is rung here on YouTube. Thank you for being here on YouTube and spending time with me today. Okay, so let's get into this, shall we? Where should we start? Well, let's start with 3i Atlas. Oh, yeah, get your Boomer Boost. Stuff's freaking amazing. BoomerBoost.com. Use the code REX20. You'll get an extra 20% off. And I'm already starting to glitch. We're starting to glitch, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Maybe if I turn off the video for a minute, it'll come back on. Okay. So you are looking at the latest campaign via NASA. It's an entire page now. eyes.nasa.gov. And this is their artist rendition of 3i Atlas, with billions of dollars being funded to space agencies around the world. This is what they're sharing with us. I mean, doesn't that make you feel loved? Don't you feel like they really care when they show us computer rendered graphics that took maybe 10 minutes to create and they're getting billions of dollars in funding? So, oh yeah, did you know that the government shut down? It's coming into week 4 almost. It's been shut down since the 1st. And what's interesting to note is 3i Atlas was closest to Mars. It came very close to Mars right around the 1st through the 4th of this month. So what you're looking at here is the latest trajectory of 3i Atlas. You can see its proximity. And the International Asteroid Warning Network has been activated. This is a worldwide planetary defense collaboration of organizations and individual astronomers that are recommended by the United Nations resolution, who collectively work to detect, monitor, and characterize potentially hazardous asteroids and near-Earth objects, NEOs. If an asteroid threat were ever identified, IAWN would act as a centralized hub for disseminating information to governments to aid with analysis of impact, consequences, and with planning of mitigation response options. Cool. This is the 3i Atlas Comet astrometry campaign. They're currently saying it poses no threat, and they're not going to share with us any new footage, but they're going to create a campaign of astronomers and organizations that are going to gather and collect data in hopes of like, how do I put this? This is what, well, let's just read it. Comets present unique challenges for accurate astrometric measurements and orbit predictions. Cometary bodies are extended with morphological features like comas and tails that can systematically pull the centroid measurements off their central brightness peak, presenting challenges to estimate comet trajectory. So they want your help. They want your help so that they can figure out better trajectories. The International Asteroid Warning Network announces a comet campaign November 27th through January 27th to introduce methods for improving astrometry from comet observations. The campaign will target Comet 3i Atlas, also known as C2025N1, to exercise the capability of the observing community to extract accurate astrometry. To prepare for the campaign, we will hold a workshop on techniques to correctly measure comet astrometry. So you can register. Will you be included into the opportunity? Probably not, but you can register. Now, this is the white paper that I wanted to share with you from Andrew Collins. This is from Andrew Collins, and Andrew says, the passerby, or the strange case of 3i Atlas, is it a plasma-based life form? Well, I mean, that's just as good of a theory as a flying space rock traveling at 130,000 miles through our solar system in a very peculiar maneuver, or a giant space snowball that is being measured as this weird nickel alloy. When they measure it, like through these certain satellite technologies, they're saying, no, it's a giant nickel ball, nickel alloy, but it's totally natural. Even though this nickel alloy is used in industrial applications here, and we have never observed anything like this before, it's totally natural. You know, no need to bring in the tomato plants. We are going to start an international asteroid warning campaign through IAWN, but don't worry. There's nothing to see here. 3i Atlas, the third interstellar visitor to visit our neighborhood after Oumuamua and Borisov, is behaving even more weird than its predecessors. It has displayed a number of puzzling characteristics previously unseen in connection with the appearance of comets. Astronomers attribute these anomalies to the extremely ancient nature of the object, while Professor Loeb of Harvard University and his supporters advise caution, suggesting that 3i Atlas could be alien technology. We look at these strange anomalies, which include 3i Atlas absorbing a coronal mass ejection. That was pretty weird. And propose that it is on the one hand natural, while on the other hand an intelligent plasma-based life form. Plasma-based, huh? So this is just a quick search. If you type in plasma life forms, plasma life forms are a theoretical concept for non-carbon-based life, possibly existing in high-energy environments like stars. This idea suggests that life could emerge from self-organizing structures in plasma, a state of matter made of charged particles, potentially using electromagnetic fields for boundaries and information transfer rather than biological molecules. While speculative, research has shown that laboratory-created gaseous plasmas can form self-organizing structures, grow, and replicate, hinting at the possibility of such life. That's pretty cool. So structure, instead of a carbon-based cell, a plasma life form could be a self-generated magnetic bubble that holds the charged particles of the plasma together and separates them from the surrounding environment. Let's see if the video is coming back now. Yeah, cool. All right. Hey, everybody. The genetic code could be based on energy and electromagnetic fields, not traditional DNA. These organisms might feed by absorbing neutral plasma and charging it, or by consuming other organisms and assimilating their structure. Replication could occur through processes like cell division or self-assembly of plasma structures, and some theories suggest plasma organisms could be sentient and possess intelligence, possibly account for some unidentified aerial phenomena sightings. That's interesting, because when we read the abstract of this plasma potentially based life form, 3I Atlas, it describes how 3I Atlas was basically, it absorbed a massive CME from the sun. It's like energy. It's like food. So the strange behavior of 3I Atlas, since it was first recorded entering the solar system by the NASA-funded Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, which is the Atlas telescope in Chile, sets it apart from the previous two interstellar objects spotted in our skies over the past decade. Why? Well, its hyperbolic trajectory coinciding with the path of the planets, its scheduled rendezvous with three of them, curious anti-tail, its strange composition, and the unique polarization of light within its coma all tell us we're dealing with an object not entirely understood by science. While to some, 3I Atlas is simply a weird acting exocomet of unusual composition, others, like Dr. Avi Loeb of Harvard University, propose that we should consider the possibility that it's an example of alien technology. Indeed, on Loeb's newly rolled out Loeb scale, where 0 is a natural comet and 10 is an unquestionable alien spacecraft or potential danger to life on Earth, 3I Atlas is at a 4. Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, is also at a 4 on the Loeb scale, while 2I Borisov is at 0 on the scale. If 3I Atlas simply is a weird exocomet or of purely natural origin, or should we seriously consider it alien tech? What if there's a third route? What if 3I Atlas can be described as a half and half? In other words, a natural comet that is also a non-biological life form. Such a view is supported by the theory of pantheism, a philosophical concept arguing that everything in the universe, including stars and planets, have their own consciousness, which I'm actually on board with that. I absolutely believe planets are conscious, as well as the sun and other stars. The way that they move, the way that they act and interact in harmony with each other, I would definitely say there is a strong possibility for planets and stars having consciousness. Actually, I'm convinced. I'm convinced, and I think a lot of other people are as well. Indeed, this is the opinion of biologist Rupert Sheldrake, who writes that the sun and even perhaps the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way could be sentient beings. Yeah, like the gods, the original gods. Can this list also include exocomets like 3I Atlas? In some ancient cultures, comets were seen as evidence of the presence in our skies of supernatural tricksters, such as the wolf and fox. I think that those are native stories. Comets were most often deemed omens of bad luck and even of impending doom. This shows us in the past, celestial visitors like comets were considered life forms in their own right, something that is likely to have been the case since the Paleolithic age. And this is the passerby, or the strange case of 3I Atlas. Is it a plasma-based life form? From Andrew Collins. It's good paper. This is the International Asteroid Warning Network, and if we look at this, check this out. I wanted to show this to you. Close approaches. Where'd we go here? Look at all these near-Earth objects that have recently been discovered. There's probably just as many that we haven't found yet. All right, so let's get into this very interesting article from IB Times. A Harvard physicist warning of an intercept Earth trajectory. On the social media platform X, and this is not Professor Loeb, this is a different physicist, Dr. John Brandenburg cautioned that the new interstellar object might be altering its course towards our planet. He addressed his followers as friends, going on to state that the full effect of the observed changes in 3i Atlas jets may be to change its orbit to intercept Earth. Whoa, okay. Well, let's take a look at this real quick. On July 1st, experts from the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System detected a body rapidly moving through our star system en route that will see it depart. It was quickly identified as interstellar, making it just the third object encountering Oumuamua and Borisov. So this is Dr. John Brandenburg's post. Friends, the full effect of the observed changes in the 3i Atlas jets may be to change its orbit to intercept Earth. 3i is moving in retrograde to Earth orbit, so major orbit changes may manifest themselves rapidly with closure rates of 100 kilometers a second. Check this trajectory estimate. So this is his estimate right here. Oh, look, 666 hearts. Perfect. I've heard people say that they think 3i Atlas is the Antichrist, and I thought that was kind of humorous. But hey, I mean, you can't prove to me that it's not yet, so you certainly can't prove to me, though, that it is. Now, this is an interesting course right here. The new trajectory with added acceleration thrust assisting with the sun's gravity effect wraps around sun even tighter to intercept Earth, according to his claims, showing how it would shoot back down towards Earth right here. That's very interesting. So let's look at who this guy is, though. You probably haven't heard of this guy before. This is Dr. John Brandenburg. Dr. John Brandenburg. He is a plasma physicist, a fusion energy, advanced space propulsion, and author. He has a theory that Mars was once like Earth and it got decimated through technologies, and he thinks the same thing could happen here with 3i Atlas potentially being some type of alien spacecraft. That's one of his theories currently. Look at this post from Dr. John Brandenburg. Dear friends, object 3i Atlas may be changing its trajectory to approach Earth. If confirmed, the following message should be sent. Approach Earth, and there will be war, and God is with us. Therefore, depart in peace or depart in pieces. We know about Mars. I think this is his website, blueplanetred.net. It's already got over 200,000 views. It was just posted a couple of days ago. So clearly he thinks it's an alien spacecraft, and if it gets closer to Earth, we're going to somehow be able to blow it up. I mean, highly doubtful, but friends, using a sweet orbit code from fet.colorado.edu, it is seen that a sequence of anti-sunward and sunward thrusts, as we are seeing, can rotate the trajectory of 3i Atlas to intercept Earth. But the numbers are required to be exact. In God we trust, and stay frosty. Let's take a look at this. Confirmation of near perihelion thrusting to possibly put 3i Atlas on an Earth intercept trajectory by orbit code. To intercept Earth, 3i Atlas, it must turn 90 degrees. Sequence of braking and sunward thrust can rotate trajectory towards Earth. Numbers needed. Yeah, we'll get to this in a minute. The U.S. military is building up in force with about 10,000 troops right now around the Caribbean, where the 8th largest hurricane on record is taking place right now at an extremely slow pace. Like it's moving at about 3 to 5 miles an hour. Very, very interesting. But I just wonder, like I'm looking at the potential here when we go back to IAWN. And how they decided to have a whole program for 3i Atlas. And I wonder if they're doing that because of all the interest of 3i Atlas, or if there's stuff that they're not telling us. I mean, it is the International Asteroid Warning Network, and it could be used as a great playbook to track objects, obviously. So we'll keep you posted on this. Now, Category 5 Hurricane Melissa to unleash life-threatening catastrophe, sorry about that, in Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa in the Caribbean will take a turn towards Jamaica and unleash some of nature's most intense fury on the island nation, with a high risk of great loss of life and catastrophic damage on Tuesday. Well, that's today. And we're going to get into more of that in a minute, but I want you to see this. This is very interesting, pretty cool. Early this morning, Moscow residents spotted a dazzling green flash in the sky. An unidentified object streaked above the city and vanished, leaving a glowing trail behind. Eyewitnesses say it could be a meteor burning up in the atmosphere or debris from a satellite. And according to another version, it was the work of an AI. Though some joke that aliens have finally arrived. Let's zoom in on this. Look at that. Wow. Imagine seeing one of those about 1,000 times that stuff. It's like the size of Manhattan, which is allegedly the size of 3I Atlas. They say it's the size of Manhattan. It's 33 billion tons, and it's producing 33 gigawatts of power, which is more than most nuclear reactors in the U.S. Yeah. Wow. Look at this. I don't think it's AI because there's several videos showing the same thing in different places. It could be. Highly doubtful. Look at that. And this is from Nexta TV on X. It's probably some space weapon or satellite, some space satellite, super secret space spy satellite or something that blew up. But if you look at that, it almost looks like a craft. Right there. Look at that. The way that it's moving. Very interesting. Right here. Look at that. Isn't that odd? Boom. That's where it starts to break apart, right around there. This guy needs to clean his car. Pretty weird. In other news, 2 U.S. Navy aircraft crash in South China Sea. A Navy Seahawk helicopter and an FA-18F Super Hornet go down in separate incidents in the South China Sea. Now, what caused 2 different aircraft to crash in the South China Sea? I've got some theories on this. A theory of mine is technology from an adversary figured out a way to mess up the electronics, causing both of these craft to crash. Kind of like, what do they call that? Hybrid warfare. That's my theory. I could be way wrong, but it's interesting how 2 of them in the South China Sea over a very short amount of time, 2 separate aircraft go down, one being a helicopter and one being an F-18 Super Hornet fighter. Very advanced craft in the South China Sea. Now, Project Lotus, this is really interesting. I don't know if you've heard about Project Lotus or not, but Project Lotus is an autonomous aircraft from Northrop Grumman. And the technology here, if you go to Aviation Week, let's take a look at this. This technology is like, wow. Large new uncrewed aircraft systems dubbed Project Lotus, rapid prototyping facility in Mojave, California. Where's the photograph? Oh, thanks. No photograph. All right. Well, we'll go to the next article then. This is pretty cool. The Maya predicted eclipses by using a sophisticated lunar calendar and mathematical tables, such as those in the Dresden Codex, which recorded long-term patterns of lunar months and astronomical observations. Their system used repeating cycles, including sequences of 6 or 11 lunar months, and could be corrected over time by resetting the tables at specific intervals to account for small astronomical errors. Now, think about that. If you've read the book of Revelation, in the book of Revelation, there is a multitude of prophecies that are linked to the stars and the constellations and the movements of the planets in connection with the stars, like Revelation 13 is an example. And a lot of people look at that and think, oh, it's prophecy. Well, kind of. But what they were doing is they were taking astrological events and they were turning it into prophecy hundreds and thousands of years later. So the Mayans knew what they were doing way before, and a multitude of civilizations and dynasties like in China and around the world, I would say even the natives from the States here and other countries knew how to track these moon cycles and these stars and these planets, and they could foresee the future through these movements of the moon and through math. It's very, very cool. So check this out. The Mayans used mathematical tables like the one in the Dresden Codex to correlate eclipse cycles with their 260-day divinatory calendar. That reminds me so much of the most recent eclipse that we had here in the States that created an X. And a lot of the locations, the totality, there were names of towns like Nineveh, Little Egypt, and various other names. As I predicted then, and my theory then was they knew how to read the stars and the planets. They knew about these eclipses and events that would take place. So they wrote them down in prophecy or in scriptures as prophecy. It's fascinating. It's absolutely incredible. But once you understand this, it makes a little more sense. Now, this right here, I'm not a big fan of. I know with artificial intelligence needing so much energy and these massive data centers requiring so much cooling and energy, these nano nuclear reactors could potentially be a fix for the energy needed. However, even though they're smaller nuclear reactors, about the size of a briefcase, and not nearly as massive as like when we see cooling towers, etc. What happens if one of these reactors is to explode? You know, like, or what happens if something bad, like bad weather, invasion, whatever. There's so many scenarios that the more nuclear reactors we build, the more potential for problems. So I'm not a big fan of this, but seems to be the future. And there's universities that are working with these companies for nuclear reactors for their colleges and universities. And it's quite interesting when you look at that. So I just wanted to bring that up. Now, this is interesting. Earth is splitting open beneath the Pacific Northwest. Earth's tectonic engine is tearing itself apart. Scientists just caught it in the act. For the first time, scientists have seen a subduction zone actively breaking apart beneath the Pacific Northwest. Seismic data shows the oceanic plates tearing into fragments, forming microplates in a slow step-by-step collapse. This process, once only theorized, explains mysterious fossil plates found elsewhere and offers new clues about earthquake risks. The dying subduction zone is revealing Earth's tectonic life cycle in real time. Isn't Africa splitting apart too? Don't worry. Don't worry, because humanity may achieve the singularity within the next 3 months, scientists suggest. So predictions across the field range from a few months to a few decades, but experts agree change is coming. So why did you put 3 months? I mean, well, it could be 50 years. It could be 3 months. I mean, let's just make something up. The singularity, when it happens, it's going to be wild. Computers smarter than all humans combined, like a single computer smarter than all humans combined, this super intelligence. And we've got oligarchs just pushing for this super intelligence and replace, like, people are paying for their replacement with data centers and artificial intelligence and robotics. And then the caveat, the carrot at the end of the stick, for humans is, well, don't worry, we're going to have universal income. You can sit on your ass and we're still going to pay you, and we're going to let the robots do all the work. Yeah, I'm not too excited about that. Astronomers have identified interstellar tunnels that connect our solar system to distant stars. These are not sci-fi wormholes. Instead, they are vast, low-density channels of superheated gas within the local hot bubble, a region around our solar system formed by ancient supernova explosions. These natural highways for cosmic rays and gas flow are part of a potentially larger network of structures that reshape our understanding of the Milky Way. Well, I was hoping for like tunnels that we could travel through and we could get to the Zeta Reticuli in just a few minutes. They're not physical shortcuts, it goes on to say. The tunnels are not shortcuts like in science fiction. They're more like highways or corridors of low-density plasma, speaking of plasma, not distortions of space-time. They're made of hot gas. Physical structures formed from the remnants of past supernova explosions, which cleared out the surrounding interstellar medium. You know, I wonder if there's a way that we could figure out how to use these things, though, for like shortcuts and figure out a way to travel through these plasma tunnels unscathed. One tunnel extends towards the Centaurus constellation and another towards Canis Major. Scientists believe these might be connected to other similar structures, forming a galactic network. There's a local hot bubble, a large cavity of hot, low-density plasma that surrounds our solar system, approximately 1,000 light years wide, created by a series of supernova explosions millions of years ago. The LHB is the source of much X-ray background radiation we detect. So this challenges the idea that space is a completely empty void, suggesting it has currents and corridors. That's pretty cool. These tunnels show that our solar system is part of a much larger, interconnected galactic structure, and mapping these structures could help us better understand the history of supernovas, star formations, and the movement of cosmic rays. Pretty cool. Scientists are preparing for the next Carrington event. You know what they say, be prepared, not scared. Let's see if I can find some information on this for you. I had it ready to go. Yes, found it. The European Space Agency. Let me make sure we've still got audio. How's everybody doing? Thanks, everybody, for being here. It's good to see you all. Much appreciated. All right, so let's look at this real quick. The European Space, what timing, right? 3i Atlas. The sun is so powerful. The European Space Agency recently ran a full-scale simulation of a solar superstorm scenario, an X-45 class flare, and found that under such an event, no spacecraft would survive unprotected. No shit. Agencies are improving solar storm forecasting, including the use of artificial intelligence and satellite monitoring. NASA is developing AI models for earlier warnings. Infrastructure sectors like power grids, satellites, telecom are being alerted. For example, the possibility of induced currents in transformers, increased drag on satellites, corruption of GPS and communications, amongst other things. Like that would be probably the least of some concerns. International organizations such as the International Telecommunications Union are emphasizing resilience for satellite telecom networks and coordinating policy for space weather readiness. Now, my friend Greg Allison, rocket scientist, aerospace engineer, DoD contractor, I mean, guy's super genius. He is a big proponent of solidifying the electrical grid. What he sees as one of the potentials for the biggest catastrophic events to take place would be some type of solar flare or attack on our electrical grid, because so much of our technology and industries and so many people's livelihoods are connected to the electrical grid as well. There's been forecasts that if the electrical grid went down within days, there would be catastrophic loss of life. So obviously it's good to be prepared, not scared. I'm glad they're doing these exercises. I question why. Like, why now? Is it just a part of the daily, is it a part of their regular maintenance schedule, regular routine, or is there something that they see that could potentially happen in the near future connected with the sun? So they're running these scenarios right now in hopes of figuring out a way to offset as much damage as possible. I don't know. Now, a storm similar to the original Carrington event would hit modern infrastructure far more severely. Our reliance on electronics, satellites, power grids globally means the impact could be enormous, and it would be. Even with warnings, some of the damage might be unavoidable. ESA's simulation noted that there is no good solutions in the face of a worst-case event. The unpredictability of when such an event will strike remains high. Scientists estimate the probability of a Carrington-scale storm in the next 100 years at up to 12%, though some values vary. So a 12% chance in the next 100 years we're going to have a Carrington event. Wouldn't surprise me. So the early warning lead time needs work. The grid and transformer resilience needs work. Spacecraft resilience, public awareness and preparedness, global coordination. All of that we need to work on. Now, we're entering a period of increased solar activity. Solar cycle rising towards maximum, which raises the chance of large solar eruptions. The modern world dependency on electronic satellites and long-distance power transmission means a severe solar storm has a much higher consequence than in 1859 when the Carrington event took place. And a severe event could cascade across systems, satellite navigation loss, transport issues, power grid failures, communication failures, economic disruptions. Wow. Pretty wild. So let's jump back over to 3i Atlas. Let's take a look at 3i Atlas right now. Where are we at? 3i Atlas is right here. And with billions of dollars funding NASA, they can manage to give us a computer-rendered space rock. Good job, guys. Way to go. I'm so impressed. This is what we know currently about 3i Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object entering our solar system. Discovered July 1st, 2025 by the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile. Its orbit is hyperbolic. It's unbound to the sun's gravity, meaning it originated outside of our solar system and it will exit again. Spectroscopic observations with the James Webb Space Telescope revealed a coma dominated by carbon dioxide. Relative to water, a CO2-H2O ratio around 8:1, unusually high compared to typical solar system comets. Water activity was detected via OH, ultraviolet emission, at 3.51 astronomical units from the sun. The production rate was measured at approximately 40 kilograms a second, indicating substantial activity even far from the sun. Photometric monitoring shows 3i Atlas transitioned in color and brightness as it approached the sun, with dust and ice grain behavior changing as heliocentric distance decreased. That's odd. Now, the very high CO2 content suggests formation under conditions different from typical solar system comets, which tend to have lower CO2-H2O ratios, possibly in a lower metallically environment or closer to a CO2 ice line in its origin stellar system. Early outgassing of water far from the sun is atypical for comets of this kind. The size and activity suggest that 3i Atlas may be significantly larger or more active than many previously known comets, though size estimates still vary. Because it comes from outside the solar system, it offers a rare opportunity to sample the composition and formation history of extrasolar small bodies. Now, tomorrow, put this on your calendar. It's either going to be a big nothing burger or something big's going to happen. It's perihelion. Its closest approach to the sun is tomorrow at a distance of 1.356 astronomical units. Observatories, both ground-based and space-based, are continuing to monitor 3i Atlas, but they ain't showing us anything, hardly, for changes in telestructure, outgassing behavior, possible fragmentation, and to refine nucleus size and composition. Where's the photos? Where's the imaging? Show us the data. You haven't shown us anything since earlier this month. Where's the beef? Because of its interstellar origin and odd composition, researchers are especially watching for any additional unexpected behaviors, like non-gravitational acceleration, unusual jets, or compositional changes. So let's look at the IAWN campaigns. Let's go back to the International Asteroid Warning Network and see what it's doing. They've launched a comet astrometry campaign targeting 3i Atlas. It's going to be running the 27th of November through January 27th. Workshop on astrometry techniques will be the 10th of November. The kickoff for the telecon is going to be the 25th. The observing window is the 27th of November through the 27th of January. And IAWN notes that 3i Atlas will serve as an exercise for the global observing community to extract accurate astrometry of a cometary object, especially one with unusual properties. Now, they do say currently it's not a threat to Earth, but things could change. All right. This is the specific campaign for 3i Atlas from IAWN, as you can see right here. This is the paper you should read from Andrew Collins, The Passerby or the Strange Case of 3i Atlas, if you're just joining us. And I was looking at some of the characteristics of plasma life theoretically to add to this paper, and it's very interesting. If you're just joining us, this is from a physics specialist or professor. Like, this guy has a pretty serious resume. His name is Dr. John Brandenburg. Let's go back to John here. So Dr. John Brandenburg is a plasma physicist, a fusion energy advanced space propulsion, and author. So he's got, those are some big words, man. A plasma physicist, fusion energy, advanced space propulsion guy, and an author. And his theory is at one point Mars was more like Earth, and it got blown to smithereens based upon technologies. And he thinks that 3i Atlas could be the technology that wiped out life on Mars, and he thinks it could potentially happen on Earth. That's one hell of a claim. That's a pretty serious claim there. What do they say? How does that saying go about claims? Like, when you have these just fascinating claims and theories and are preventing them as evidence, well, you better have some pretty serious evidence to back that up. How does that term go? Yeah, okay, let's talk about that for a second. I want to bring this up, Sherry. Sherry says the Gaia channel said remote viewers saw 5 million reptilians in stasis. That's one freaking serious claim right there. Like, seriously? My question is, do you believe it? And if you do, that's totally cool. But that seems like a really big story to me. Like, you better show me some pretty serious evidence if you're going to make a claim that there's 5 million reptoids inside of this object. Like, wow. Yeah. I'm not buying it. Not even for 1 second, actually. I think that's a load of nonsense and rubbish, and anybody can remote view. So first of all, if you're remote viewing something, and look, you can't prove to me that it isn't yet either. Like, I can't prove to you that it's not that. So yet, but we will be able to soon. But my point is, if you're doing remote viewing on something, if you're remote viewing something and you know what you're remote viewing, you're not remote viewing that object according to military protocols and the original protocols of remote viewing. If somebody says remote view 3i Atlas, and you start to think, oh, 3i Atlas, oh, there's reptoids in there right now. There's 5 million of them. I can see them. They're looking at me. I'm scared. I got to untap. Okay, they saw me. They're going to follow me home. Like, that's your imagination. Doesn't mean you're wrong, but you're using your imagination. If you remote view something, you do it blindly, meaning you don't know what the target is. You're given a piece of paper with a number in it, and you're remote viewing something based upon not knowing at all what you're going into. So I find that very, like, That just seems like nonsense to me, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so, and when this guy comes out, Dr. John Brandenburg, he's got an amazing resume. He's a plasma physicist, a fusion energy guy. He works on advanced space propulsion. So the guy must be really smart, right? But then when I read a tweet like this, dear friends, Object 3I Atlas may be changing its trajectory to approach Earth. If confirmed, the following message should be... Oh my gosh, I need a drink. A kombucha. It's just a kombucha. I've been up since 4 a.m. Yeah. It's been like this for a while now. So, Dr. John Brandenburg, dear friends, Object 3I Atlas may be changing its trajectory to approach Earth. If confirmed, the following message should be sent. Why could I not say message right? What the hell? Approach Earth and there will be war, and God is with us. Therefore, depart in peace or depart in pieces. We know about Mars. And this guy's also an author. He's written several books about Mars in the past and how Mars was blown up by technology and it used to be like Earth. And so I can see where his mind is going. And I'm definitely on the bandwagon that Mars was like Earth and that Mars had and still has highly advanced civilizations. But I think that they're underground right now because they have to be. And I think a lot of them left Mars. Now, speaking of remote viewing, there's actually a remote viewing. Let me pull this up. Remote viewing Mars. This is from the CIA's website, cia.gov. So it must be true, right? Because it's from the CIA. No, not necessarily, but this literally was a remote viewing session that was done. And the CIA was very interested in this remote viewing session, so they've got it a part of their files under their reading room. Now, this was done in 84, May 22nd, 1984. It's called Mars Exploration. Now, let me tell you, the person that did this remote viewing did not know what they were remote viewing because it is specific protocol that the remote viewer does not know what they are remote viewing. So look at this. Method of site acquisition. Sealed envelope coupled with geographic coordination or coordinates. The sealed envelope was given to the subject immediately prior to the interview. The envelope was not opened until after the interview. In the envelope was a 3x5 card with the following information. The planet Mars, time of interest approximately 1 million years BC. Selected geographic coordinates provided by the parties requesting the information were verbally given to the subject during the interview. So they told him the coordinates. They didn't tell him it was Mars. And guess what? He remote viewed Cydonia on Mars. Literally, the coordinates that he was given, if you take these coordinates, it will take you to Cydonia, Mars. Cydonia, Mars. The original Viking images from the Viking satellite were amazing. And then they tried to come out years later and debunk it with this computer rendition nonsense to make it look like it was just pareidolia. Well, if you look at the pyramids and the face and if you do the math based upon their locations, it uses what's called a Fibonacci. They used a Fibonacci sequence to build their civilization. The 5-sided pyramid and some of the pyramids close to in Cydonia, close to the face, guess what it looks like? Looks like Egypt. Well, did you know that Cairo in Egypt, the original definition of Cairo in Egypt means camp of Mars? So there's a very strong possibility that Mars was like Earth. And I don't think it was billions of years ago. I think it was thousands of years ago. And if you read the book of Enoch, it describes how these watchers came to Earth and gave technologies and they fell in love with Earth women and they were expelled and they were, they basically made a pact with each other because they knew that by breaking protocols, they weren't going to be allowed back to where they originally were. If you look at that as like spiritually and religiously, people refer to them, and I would not refer to them as this, but some people call them angels that have fallen. And if you look at the science potentially, and you read up on this, like you read this document, it describes in detail what these guys look like, what they look like on Mars. They were very tall, very skinny. What happened when the Watchers had sex with Earth women? Then the Nephilim were created, very large, right? Elongated skulls. I don't think they were giants that were a mile tall, though, like is referred to in the Book of Enoch. I think that's some kind of code. When I think of giants, I think of like 7 feet, 8 feet, maybe taller than that, but typically about 7, 8 feet. In this, it describes them perfectly. And it also describes Velikovsky's theory of a comet or Venus actually acting like a comet, and the cometary tail of Venus, when it broke orbit, creating Valles Marineris on Mars and destroying the atmosphere and cause like major destruction. So look at this. Let's go to this. Valles Marineris. Probably spelled that wrong. Yeah, here we go. Boom. Check this out. This scar on Mars, which I have seen personally with my own telescope. I've got an 8-inch Meade dual mount telescope, very nice, and for an amateur telescope. And you can see like a third of the face of Mars is this massive scar. And so one of the modern theories, mainstream theories, is this was created from volcanic activity. They're saying that this scar, this massive canyon, was created from volcanic activity. If you look at this in more detail, and then you look at what's that called? What do they call that? When they use plasma to create art, Lichtenberg effect. The Lichtenberg effect, or Lichtenberg figures, branching fern-like patterns created by high voltage electrical discharges on the surface of an insulating material. They are famously seen on the skin of lightning strike victims and are created by the discharge of electricity passing through the body's moisture-rich areas. The figures can also be created intentionally by applying a high voltage to insulating materials like wood or acrylic, a technique used in some art forms, like this one right here. The Lichtenberg effect, a Lichtenberg figure. See that? Beautiful, right? Now check this out. Goods idea. Here, let's go here. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. And then let's compare that to a Lichtenberg figure created by electricity, electrical discharge. This right here is a Lichtenberg branching figure in leopard wood. That looks so much like the Grand Canyon or the Canyonlands or Valles Marineris on Mars. Look at this. And Valles Marineris on Mars is massive. The Grand Canyon is huge, and the Valles Marineris dwarfs the Grand Canyon. And Mars is about a third the size of Earth. So put that into perspective. So this does not look like volcanic activity to me. It looks like it was created from plasma discharge, electrical discharge, lightning bolts, or what is referred to as the thunderbolts of the gods. The gods being the planets and the sun. So when we take all this information and we link it back to the theory of Dr. John Brandenburg and his theory of Mars being like Earth and becoming decimated from technologies, well, I think he's right about that. Now, do I think he's right about, well, I don't think it was technologies. I think it was actually Venus that caused that. But the fact that there were highly advanced civilizations on Mars before it was obliterated and probably still there. Like, for example, Haim Eshed. Haim Ashed. This guy, retired military in Israel, professor of aeronautics and astronautics, various space technology research institutions. If anybody's going to know about space aliens on Mars, it's this guy. The Israeli military intelligence, a director of space programs for Israel Ministry of Defense for nearly 30 years, former chair of the Space Committee of the National Council for Research and Development for the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Space, and a member of the Steering Committee of Israel's Space Agency. Ashed is responsible for the launch of 20 Israel-made satellites, and he's widely cited as the father of the Israeli space program. Well, he also came out several years ago and said that there are highly advanced civilizations on Mars. We know about them. We're working with them, but they're not ready to make themselves known yet because we don't understand enough about space. And it's kind of like the Galactic Federation, he says. So there's two theories about him right now. One theory is he's complete disinformation, and the other theory is he's legit. And you know what? I think he's legit, and I'll tell you why I think he's legit, because I look at all the other data out there about Mars. I've been studying Cydonia and those Viking images now off and on for like 20-something years. There's more than Cydonia on Mars as far as anomalies go. If you read up on the ancient scriptures, like go back to ancient Sumer, ancient Babylon, and you read up on the, like, for example, Enki and Ninmah. Enki and Ninmah is an incredible read. You can read the direct translation from Oxford's website, where they found thousands of these ancient tablets that they translated from cuneiform that are far older than biblical scriptures or the Gnostic scriptures. I mean, these are ancient. And one in particular called Enki and Ninmah seems almost like a laboratory where Enki and Ninmah are making people pre-Adam, and they're making mistakes along the way. Also, the Rh negative blood factor. I think that the Rh negative blood factor is linked to Mars. I think that it's linked to Enki somehow. Now, in these ancient tablets, you're going to read oftentimes as well astrotheology. Utu is a prime example. Utu is one of the Anunnaki, one of the ancient Sumerian gods. Utu is representation of our sun in the sky. Before Utu, there was Shamash. Shamash is also linked to an ancient star, and some people, like myself, have linked Shamash to Saturn when it was activated as a star potentially. Now, this isn't just me. There's people much smarter than myself that helped found the electric universe theories, like Wal Thornhill. Wal Thornhill, I interviewed him several times before he passed, and he theorized that Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter were all activated like stars at one point. Not as intense as Sol, our sun in the sky now, but they were activated as stars. And one of the theories is Mars and Venus was in a polar configuration with Saturn when it was a star. And somehow Venus broke trajectory, and then it started flying through the solar system, and this is Velikovsky's theories, started flying through the solar system like a massive comet with this major tail on the back of it. Well, what's fascinating is when I go back to this remote viewing paper about Mars, and the remote viewer is tasked to remote view how Mars lost its lush environment, like what happened to Mars. It describes a massive massive planet in the sky acting as a comet. It didn't say specifically it was Venus, but it meets all the parameters. Now, another theory potentially is like what caused Saturn to lose its star status? What caused Mars and Venus to break orbit with, or to break alignment with Saturn? As Saturn was getting closer to Jupiter, you've got these gravitational battles going on between the two. And then we can read about this in ancient Greek mythology. Kronos. Now remember how Kronos would eat his children to keep his vitality. And then Kronos was warned about Jupiter, which would be Zeus. Kronos was warned that one of his children would end up gaining the throne. So if we look at Kronos as Saturn and Zeus as Jupiter, and then they start to get closer together, and then these electrical battles start to take place, these thunderbolts of the gods that they're referenced as, we can look at that as a basic story describing what took place in the heavens. We've heard about the purple dawn and a time of a golden age on Earth. And what about the dinosaurs? How did the dinosaurs get so big if gravity was the way that it is now? There was a different atmosphere. There was a different environment. Animals were able to grow much larger. Something changed the environment, the amount of air, the amount of oxygen, the amount of solar radiation coming in, different types of solar radiation. Our ancestors lived in a golden age where everything was abundant. Something caused that golden age to collapse. And they had to have, and so they would write about it in these stories like theater. And they could pass this on for generations. The Farmer's Almanac, much of these petroglyphs and hieroglyphics on the other side of the world seem to depict these events that took place in the heavens. So when we look at this specific paper and we link it to Velikovsky's work, and then we look at the Lichtenberg figures and study the electric universe and look at these massive canyons like Valley Marineris and the Grand Canyon and the Canyonlands, we can then get a potential better understanding of why the world is the way that it is, why religions became so prominent after the Younger Dryas event. I think this is all linked. The Younger Dryas event, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus. Now also remember Uranus, the father of the gods. Uranus is like the oldest definitions we have of heaven is actually talking about Uranus. Uranus is castrated by Saturn or by Kronos. If you look at Uranus, it is up, it's literally tilted on its side. The rings are vertical, not horizontal. So all these bits and pieces we can compile together and get a better understanding of our ancestors and the ancient time. And we can understand religion better and how certain rituals came to be. Like people were freaked out. They were living in an environment that was almost perfect. And then that gets wiped away. And they're like, well, what did we do wrong? How did we upset the gods? We need to offer a sacrifice, or we need to offer a service of some type to protect ourselves. That kind of became the thinking for many people through these cycles and events. So the Valley Marineris here is incredible. So anyway, back to Dr. John Brandenburg. I appreciate his theories, and I need to study them more. He's actually written several books. Let's go take a look at his website here. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's got 8 patents. One for an electric rocket engine called the microwave electrothermal thruster. That sounds kind of hot. He developed something called the colliding microtory experiment for NASA, which is a fancy way of saying he developed a nuclear fusion experiment. He developed the GEM theory, which unifies gravity and electromagnetism. In 1987, Dr. Brandenburg was the first to publish his theory on Mars, once having an ocean. Most scientists rejected the idea at the time, but it's commonly accepted today. This guy's pretty dang smart. And he's coming out with, and he's leaving tweets saying, depart in peace or depart in pieces, referring to 3i Atlas saying we know about Mars. Could you imagine? What if this guy's right? That's wild. That is wild to think about. It's funny because I used to joke around, and I still do sometimes when I bring up the Mars. We come in peace, you leave in pieces. Ack, 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 ack. He kind of stole my thunder there a little bit. And tomorrow is going to be a big day. So Tomorrow, it's either going to be a big nothing burger, which is kind of what I think. It's going to be a big nothing burger. But some people, they're saying, hey, man, take your vacation before the 29th. It's a little bit late now because today's the 28th, unless you're going to take a one-day vacation. It'd be interesting to see if it does change trajectory. That would be very telling. What else we got? Oh yeah, so this is very, let's talk about this for a minute. The U.S. is building up military force in the Caribbean, about 10,000 U.S. troops, dozens of military aircraft and ships from the region, as President Trump's administration is increasing pressure on Venezuela. And this is from the New York Times. Here is from the Clash report. That is a lot of military hardware for narco terrorism. If they're just taking out narco terrorists, that is a lot of force. That is a lot of hardware. If they're getting ready for war, well, that's a different story. All right, let's jump on over here and see how Jamaica. Oh, look at this. Right now, the eye of the storm is super close to the coast of Jamaica. I mean, we're talking miles away. This storm is larger than Jamaica. The eye of this storm is just miles from the coast. This is a satellite image from NOAA. Let's turn the satellite off for a second, just see the trajectory. Traveling at 278 kilometers an hour. That's about, what is that? 163.20. It's about 150 miles an hour plus, 150, 160 miles an hour right now. The winds out there. Let's see if we got any webcams. Let's take a look. So this is a live webcam right now in Jamaica, Mon. Barbican Street. Kingston, Jamaica Street, Mon. Cars hauling. People are still walking, going about their daily lives. You can see some wind, but nothing like it's going to be here very, very soon. Like I could see the wind knocking down all of these light poles and wires. It's going to be nasty. So this is across the lively surroundings of Barbican Square. St. Andrew Parish, part of Surrey County in Jamaica. This is in the northern part of Kingston, Jamaica's capital city. See if we got any more. Let's take a look at the harbor and see what the harbor's doing right now. This is Webcam Taxi, and you can also find these on YouTube. So here's the Kingston Harbor live right now in real time. You know, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's pretty bad. Look at that. Wow. Over the past 70 years, tropical storms have slowed down by about 10%, and that's not good. When I say slow down, I mean when they move. This hurricane is moving at about 3 to 5 miles an hour. That's not unprecedented, but it's not common. However, it is becoming more common based upon the weather changes, the warming planet, etc. Somebody said that they're planning on building a smart city in Jamaica. Did you hear about that? Check this out. Smart City Initiative, Jamaica. I know I misspelled it. It'll spell it correctly for me. Okay. Jamaica's Smart City Initiative is guided by its national vision for 2030. Oh, there's that 2030 again, which seeks to create a vibrant, sustainable, and secure nation. While there isn't a single smart city initiative with a specific name, the country is working towards its vision through various projects that incorporate technology and sustainable development principles to improve the quality of life, a concept central to the definition of a smart city. So Jamaica's overreaching goal is outlined in its National Development Plan for Vision 2030. Specific projects are being implemented to achieve these goals, but they are not necessarily branded as a single smart city initiative. They may include projects focusing on sustainable urban development, infrastructure, and technology adoption to enhance the lives of citizens. 7 months ago, Jamaica's $5 billion future, the smart city. Jamaica's public service. There's a smart city forum. Oh, yeah. The U.S. Trade and Development Agency supports smart cities in Jamaica. Well, of course they do. Huh. Interesting. So we've got Haim Ashed saying, yep, there's people on Mars. We're working with them. President Trump knows about it. We've got Dr. John Brandenburg, Professor Avi Loeb. Very, very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very interesting. I want to read your thoughts. All right, let's jump on over to the chat here. How's everybody doing? PJ says no comment. How does Melissa equal 666? Oh, man. 666 gets a bad name. Hatchlings are people too. Gwendolyn, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, we got the UK in the house. Hey, Tawny, how you doing? Good to see you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I want to appreciate. I really appreciate you all being here, and I want to thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see all of you, and I hope you have a beautiful day. If you do me a favor, it'll just take you like 90 seconds. First of all, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. Make sure the bell is rung for all notifications. I've been getting comments saying that people aren't getting notifications. So make sure you've got the bell rung. And if it's already rung and you're not getting notifications, maybe try unsubscribing, subscribing again, and hitting the bell again. Maybe that'll help. On Rumble, if you'll check us out over on Rumble and subscribe to our Rumble page, it's totally free. It'll take you 90 seconds, and they're pretty good at sending notifications out. We do live streams there as well. And we have a ton of exclusive content on our Patreon page. So jump on over to our Patreon page for thousands of hours of unedited, uncensored, ad-free content you're only going to get on Patreon and leakproject.com. And that definitely helps us continue to grow. Oh, thank you very much for sharing out the podcast. Much appreciated, Deborah. Thank you, Armitage. Much appreciated, man. Glad the Boomer Boost and Gladiator Barley is working well for you, and thank you for watching the shows. Eric says, I'm not a number or a letter. I'm a symbol. Joyce is looking forward to 3i Atlas coming. Yeah, why not? Me too. Hush, Hannah, good to see you. Central UK, right on. Right on. Yeah, well, thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day. Scotland, freedom! Sorry. That's where my ancestors are from. Be the change you want to see, everybody. Much love. Thank you.